The queen had 3 seconds left to live. The blade was already against her throat. Her guards were down. Her escape routes were sealed. And her human protector was lying on the floor, barely conscious. The assassin leaned closer. "Your human failed you." The queen looked at the human. He should have been afraid. He wasn't. Then slowly, he smiled. The assassin froze. "You think this is funny?" The human wiped the blood from his mouth and looked up at him. "No." A faint smile remained on his face. "I'm just glad you finally found her." The assassin's expression changed. For the first time, the assassin looked uncertain. He hadn't found the queen. He had walked exactly where the human wanted him to go. The queen stared at the human. Then she understood. He hadn't been trying to escape. He had been waiting. And somewhere beyond the sealed chamber, something began to move. 12 hours earlier, the queen suddenly stopped. "Why are you watching the ceiling?" Her human guard didn't answer. His eyes remained fixed above them. Then he quietly said, "I'm counting the cameras." The queen stared at him. There were dozens of them hidden above the corridor. Tiny black lenses, silent, watching. "Why?" she whispered. The human guard didn't look at her. "Because one of them is lying." The queen frowned. "A camera can't lie. This one can." He stopped walking. She stopped beside him. For several seconds he stared at the ceiling. The queen followed his gaze. Nothing. Just polished metal, soft lights, and the security cameras that had protected the palace for years. "You're seeing something I can't." "No." He finally looked at her. "I'm noticing something you don't." That answer unsettled her. She glanced at the ceiling again. "What did you notice?" "That camera." He pointed upward. "It wasn't facing us 10 minutes ago." The queen studied it. "How can you possibly know that?" "I remember what I see." He started walking again. She followed. "You watch the walls." "Yes." "The doors, the people." He gave her a faint smile. "Especially the people." She studied his face. "Do you think someone wants me dead?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The queen's voice lowered. "Then tell me what you're looking for." "A mistake." "Whose?" "Whoever is watching you." They reached the next corridor. The queen slowed. "Do you trust my guards?" "No." She stopped. "They've protected my family for generations." "I know." "They would die for me." "I believe you." "Then why don't you trust them?" The human looked ahead. "Because loyalty doesn't mean someone can't be used." The queen had no answer to that. They continued. Then she noticed something on the floor. A weapon, one of her guards' weapons. It was lying beside an empty security station. The queen's face changed. "That wasn't there before." "No." He crouched and picked it up. The weapon was still warm. His eyes moved toward the security station. The chair was empty. The communication screen was still active. Static whispered through the speaker. "Captain?" No answer. He tried again. "Central security, respond." Only static. The queen looked down the corridor. "Where is everyone?" The human didn't answer immediately. Then, something moved behind the wall. The queen flinched. He stepped in front of her. "Stay behind me." "What was that?" "I don't know." "Was it a weapon?" "Could be." "Then what do you know?" He looked toward the empty hallway. "The palace is supposed to be full of guards." A beat. "Someone has been removing them." The queen's breathing changed. "Removing?" He pointed toward the floor. "Look." A trail of faint scratches disappeared around the corner. Something heavy had been dragged away, but there was no blood. No body. Nothing. Just an empty corridor. The queen whispered, "Where did they take them?" The human's hand moved toward his weapon. "That's what worries me." "Why?" "Because whoever did this didn't want anyone to find them." The lights flickered. Once, twice, then returned to normal. The queen looked toward the security cameras. Every lens was pointed at them. Except one. The human noticed it too. His expression hardened. "They know we've noticed." "Who?" He started walking. "That's what we're going to find out." They reached the eastern security doors. The queen stepped forward. They didn't open. She tried again. Nothing. "Why isn't it responding?" The human examined the panel. "Your access was changed." "By whom?" "Someone with authority." He pulled out his communicator. Central security. Static. Captain Varen. Nothing. The Queen's face tightened. Call him again. The human did. This time someone answered. A calm voice came through the speaker. Your Majesty? The Queen recognized it immediately. Captain Varen, where are you? I'm on my way to you. The human looked at the communicator. Then at the Queen. Tell him not to. She stared at him. Why? He didn't answer. The communicator crackled. Your Majesty? The Queen slowly raised it. Captain? The human suddenly took her wrist. Wait. He looked at the floor beneath the door. Then his eyes narrowed. His boots are wet. The Queen looked down. A thin line of water marked the polished floor. The palace was completely dry. Her voice became barely audible. Where did he come from? The human slowly raised his weapon. That's the wrong question. She looked at him. What should I ask? He stared at the sealed doors. What did he do before he came here? The doors opened. Captain Varen stood on the other side. Perfectly calm, perfectly dressed, and completely alone. Your Majesty. He bowed. The council is waiting. The Queen didn't move. Neither did the human. Varen looked at the guard, then smiled. You've been asking too many questions tonight. The human's finger moved onto his weapon. Varen's hand moved toward his own. For one silent second, nobody breathed. Then every light in the corridor went black. The Queen heard the sound of weapons being drawn. Not one, not two, 4. And the human guard whispered, Now we know where the missing guards went. They weren't missing. They were waiting. The first shot tore through the darkness. The human grabbed the Queen and pulled her down. A second shot struck the wall where her head had been. Stay down! Who are they? Your own guard. The emergency lights flickered on. 4 palace guards stood at the end of the corridor. Weapons raised. Captain Varen stood among them. The Queen stared at him. Captain? Varen's face remained calm. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. The human looked at the 4 guards. Then at Varen. Don't apologize. Varen frowned. The human gave him a faint smile. You just proved something for me. What? That there are 4 of you. And 5 shadows. The Queen looked down. 4 guards, 4 shadows. Then she saw the 5th. A long shadow stretched across the floor behind them. But nobody stood there. Her voice dropped. What is that? The human was already moving. That's our way out. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the opposite wall. Varen shouted, Stop them! The guards opened fire. Shots tore through the corridor. The human shoved the Queen behind a stone pillar. Dust exploded around them. How are we getting out? She asked. He looked at the wall. Through there. That's solid. So are graves. He fired once. A crack appeared. He fired again. The wall shifted. A hidden door opened. The Queen stared. You knew this was here? No.
Then how?
I saw the scratches. She looked down. The same faint mark she'd noticed earlier continued beneath the wall. Something had been dragged through here. The human pulled her inside. The hidden door slammed shut behind them. A heavy impact shook it almost immediately. The guards had found the entrance. The Queen looked at him. You keep saying you don't know. He studied the passage ahead. I don't. Then how are you always one step ahead? He glanced back at her. I'm not. I'm just paying attention. They moved deeper into the narrow passage. Behind them, the hidden door shook again. The Queen's breathing quickened. They'll catch us. Eventually. That isn't reassuring. It wasn't meant to be. He suddenly stopped. The Queen nearly walked into him. What is it? He raised one finger. Silence. Then they heard footsteps. Not behind them. Ahead, the Queen's face went pale. They're already here. A voice drifted through the darkness. Your Majesty. The Queen froze. It was Captain Varen. The human's eyes narrowed. That isn't possible. The voice came closer. You should have trusted your guards. The Queen whispered. Captain Varen? The human shook his head. Don't answer. The voice laughed softly. Then the passage lights came on. There was no Varen, no guards, only an old maintenance room. And in the center, a single chair. The Queen stared at it. Why would someone leave a chair here? The human approached slowly. A small piece of paper rested on the seat. He picked it up. The Queen watched his expression. What does it say? He handed it to her. 3 words. We know, human. She looked at him. What does that mean? He stared at the message. For the first time, his confidence disappeared. Then a small red light appeared on the wall. The Queen turned. Another appeared. Then another. What are those? The human stepped between her and the lights. Cameras. She looked closer. No. His voice became quieter. Not cameras. The red lights moved.
Following them.
The Queen swallowed. Then what are they? Recording devices. The entire wall suddenly came alive. Hundreds of screens appeared. The Queen stared in horror. Every screen showed her. Walking through the palace. Meeting diplomats. Eating with her council. Sleeping. Speaking with her guards. For days. They've been watching me. The human shook his head. No. He pointed to one screen. It showed him. Standing inside this very palace, 3 days before he had officially become her guard. The Queen looked at him. You've been here before? No. Then who is that? He stepped closer to the screen. The figure looked exactly like him. Same height, same clothes, same face. But the human noticed something. He pointed toward the figure's hand. That isn't me. The Queen looked closer. The figure was holding a weapon. The human never carried one like that. How can you tell? Because I hate that model. For the first time, the Queen almost laughed. Then the figure looked directly into the camera and smiled. The Queen's amusement vanished. The human went completely still. The recording was 3 days old, but the figure on the screen suddenly spoke. If you're watching this, they already know about you. The Queen looked at her guard. The human's expression hardened. The recording continued. And if you're standing beside the Queen, the figure leaned closer to the camera. Then you're already part of the trap. The screen went black. Silence. The Queen turned toward the human. What trap? He didn't answer. His attention had shifted to the chair. There was something carved beneath it. He crouched. Read it. His expression changed. Don't protect the Queen. A second line appeared beneath it. Protect her from herself. The Queen stared at him. What does that mean? The human slowly stood. I don't know. Then her own voice came from behind the sealed door. Open the door. The Queen froze. That was me. The human stepped in front of her. No. The voice came again. Please. The Queen's eyes widened. That's my voice. I know. Then who is outside? The human stared at the door. His expression hardened. I think that's what they want us to find out. The voice became desperate. Your Majesty, open the door. The Queen took one step forward. The human caught her arm. Don't. She looked at him. Why? He pointed toward the floor. There were fresh footprints beneath the door. Wet, just like Captain Varen's. The Queen slowly stepped back. The human looked at the footprints, then at the screens, then at the message beneath the chair, and finally he understood the first piece of the enemy's plan. They weren't trying to kill the Queen. They were trying to make her trust the wrong person. The voice outside sounded exactly like the Queen, but the footprints belonged to someone else. The human stared at the wet marks beneath the door. Don't say anything. The Queen nodded. The voice came again. Please, it's me. Her own voice. Same tone, same fear, even the same trembling breath. But the human didn't move. How can they copy my voice, she whispered. They didn't. He looked at her. They recorded it. The Queen's expression changed. All those screens. Exactly. His eyes moved toward the dark wall. They've been studying you. And you. He glanced at the screen showing his double. Especially me. The voice outside became louder. Your Majesty, open the door. The Queen took a step toward it. The human caught her arm. No. She looked at him. What do we do? He scanned the room, then walked toward the old maintenance console. First, we stop doing what they expect. He pulled open the panel. Inside were old wires and forgotten mechanical switches. The Queen watched silently. His fingers moved across the controls, then stopped. He pulled one ancient lever. Every screen went black. The red lights disappeared. The voice outside stopped. The Queen whispered, Did it work? The human looked at the sealed door. No. A violent impact shook the room. The Queen jumped. The door bent inward. Then why shut everything down? So they can't see what we do next. Another impact. The door cracked. The human looked upward. His eyes settled on a narrow ventilation grate. He walked over and removed it. Behind it was a dark shaft. The Queen stared. You expect me to crawl through that? The door shook again. The human glanced at her ceremonial gown. Unless you'd prefer the door? She looked at the door, then at him. Move. For the first time, he almost smiled. They crawled into the shaft. Behind them, the maintenance room door finally burst open. Voices flooded the room. But the human and the Queen were already gone. They moved through the darkness. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then the Queen whispered, "Why did you become my guard?" The human kept moving. "Because I was assigned." "That isn't what I asked." He stopped. She nearly bumped into him. "Then what did you ask? Why did you accept?" He looked back. "Because I read your file." "My file?" "Your enemies, your allies, your political factions." And one thing stood out. "What?" "You trust people who have earned it." The Queen frowned. "Isn't that a good thing?" "It is." He turned forward again. "Unless someone spends years earning it." The Queen went quiet. They reached the end of the shaft. The human pushed the cover aside. They emerged into an old chamber. The Queen looked around, then froze. The Royal Archive. He nodded. This place was sealed 20 years ago. Good. Good? Nobody thinks to hide things in a place everyone believes is useless. She gave him a disbelieving look. You really are paranoid. I'm alive. They approached the old archive cabinets. The Queen opened one. Inside were hundreds of classified records. Most were untouched. One wasn't. A file sat open on the table. Its label read, Project Mirror. The Queen's face tightened. I've never heard of this. The human opened the file. The first page contained an old photograph. A much younger Queen stood beside her father. Behind them was Captain Varen. She went still. He served my father. The human turned the page. Another photograph. Varen. Another. Varen again. Different years. Different ceremonies. Different kings. Always there. He has been with my family my entire life. The human looked at the photographs. That's why everyone trusts him. The Queen turned the next page. Her face went pale. A list of royal personnel filled the screen. Guards, advisors, security officers. Several names were marked with a red symbol. What does that mean? The human read the heading. Replacement confirmed. The Queen stared at the names. He turned another page. Photographs appeared beside them. The same people. But beneath each photograph was a date, and after each date, no longer active. Her breathing slowed. They replaced them. The human said nothing. He didn't have to. His eyes moved across the files, then back to the photographs, the missing guards, the cameras, the voices. Suddenly they weren't separate events. They were one system. The Queen looked at him. How many of them? He counted the marked names. Too many. A sound came from outside the archive. Footsteps. Slow. Unhurried. Coming closer. The Queen looked toward the door. How did they find us? The human closed the file. They wanted us to find this. Her face tightened. You think this entire escape was planned? I think they knew we'd look for answers. Another footstep. Closer. Then we're walking into another trap. Probably. She stared at him. You say that very calmly. He watched the archive door. Being surprised hasn't helped anyone tonight. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then the archive door slowly opened. Captain Varen stood on the other side. Perfectly calm. Perfectly dressed. The Queen took a step backward. Captain? The human raised one hand. Don't. Varen smiled. Your Majesty. The Queen stared at him. You were outside the maintenance room. Varen said nothing. The human studied his face. Then Varen spoke, but not in his own voice. He spoke in the human's voice. Too late. The Queen froze. The human's expression finally changed. Not fear. Recognition. He looked at the Project Mirror file, then at Varen, and finally understood the first real danger. They weren't simply replacing people. They were learning them. And now, They had learned him. The human stared at Varen. Varen smiled with the human's voice. Too late. The queen stepped behind her guard. That's impossible. The human didn't look away. No. His voice was calm. It's worse than impossible. Varen tilted his head. You always were observant. The queen's eyes narrowed. Who are you? Varen smiled. Someone who knows you better than he should. The human studied him. Same uniform, same face, same voice. But not the same man. His eyes dropped to Varen's hands. Then his shoes. Then the way he stood. The queen whispered, What are you looking for? Something he can't copy. Varen's smile faded. He moved. Fast. The human shoved the queen aside as Varen crossed the room. A fist struck the human across the face. He crashed into the archive table. The project mirror file flew across the floor. The queen screamed. Run! Varen attacked again. The human blocked the first strike, but the impact drove him backward. Varen was stronger, faster, and completely emotionless. You're difficult to kill, Varen said. The human wiped blood from his mouth. You're difficult to trust. Varen struck again. The human ducked. A fist smashed into the cabinet behind him. Wood and metal exploded across the room. The queen backed toward the archive entrance. Who is he? The human blocked another blow. I don't know. Varen laughed. You still don't understand. He grabbed the human by the throat and slammed him against the wall. I don't need to be him. His grip tightened. I only need you to believe I could be. The human struggled for air. Then his eyes moved past Varen, toward the floor, toward the project mirror file. A single photograph had fallen open. The queen saw it too. Her face went pale. My father. She stepped closer. Beside the old king stood Varen, and beside Varen, a younger version of the queen. The queen stared. That picture was taken before I became queen. The human looked at Varen. Then why is he in it? Varen said nothing. The queen turned the photograph over. Written on the back were 4 words. Royal Emergency Network, Queen Only. Her eyes widened. The human looked at the words. What is this? Your father left you a door. A door to what? Something he didn't trust anyone else to open. Varen's grip loosened for half a second. The human drove his knee into his stomach. Varen staggered. The human grabbed the queen. Move. They ran. They tore through the archive corridors. The queen held the photograph tightly. What did my father hide? Don't know. You saw the file. I saw enough to know we're in trouble. She looked at him. You keep saying you don't know. He glanced back. Because I don't. But I know what we're looking for. What? A reason Varen wanted us to find that photograph. They reached a locked door. The queen pressed her hand against the scanner. Nothing. She tried again. Still nothing. My access is being rejected. The human looked at the scanner. Someone changed the palace system. Again? He nodded. Your own palace doesn't recognize you. Footsteps echoed behind them. Slow. Calm. Getting closer. Varen. The queen whispered. He found us. The human looked at the locked door. Then at her. We're not going to outrun him. Then what? He lowered his voice. We make him follow us. She stared. You have a plan? Part of one. What's the rest? He looked at the photograph in her hand. Your father. The footsteps stopped. Varen's voice echoed down the corridor. Your Majesty. The human stepped between the queen and the approaching figure. Remember what I told you. She looked at him. What? Don't trust a face. His eyes moved toward Varen. Trust what you've earned. The queen understood. She tightened her grip on the photograph. Varen appeared at the end of the corridor. He smiled. You found something. The human stepped forward. You want me? Varen nodded. I want what you know. You already copied my voice. Yes. My appearance. Yes. My movements. A faint smile crossed Varen's face. Yes. The human took another step. Then you made one mistake. What mistake? You copied the man I look like. Varen's eyes narrowed. But you never understood why I make my choices. Silence. Varen studied him. Why do you do what you do? The human smiled. Because you keep trying to predict me. Varen's expression hardened. You are predictable. No. The human glanced at the queen. That's what your system needs me to be. Varen's eyes narrowed. The human continued. You can copy a face. He took another step. You can copy a voice. Another. You can copy the way I move. Then he stopped. But you can't copy a decision you haven't seen yet. Varen went still. The human smiled. That's why you keep losing. Varen's confidence finally cracked. What have you done? The human looked at the queen. She understood. Not because he had given her a signal. Because he had already told her what mattered. Don't trust a face. Trust what you've earned. Her eyes moved across the wall, then stopped. A small symbol was carved beneath the emergency panel. The same symbol her father had used on her childhood security cards. She pressed her hand against it. Nothing happened. Varen smiled. Too late. The queen pressed harder. A hidden scanner activated. Identity confirmed. Varen's smile vanished. The human turned toward him. That's what I was waiting for. The queen stared. What? For you to stop asking who you can trust. He looked at Varen. And start trusting what your father left you. The wall opened. Deep beneath the palace, ancient systems began powering up. Red lights appeared one after another. A low mechanical hum rolled through the corridor. Varen took one step backward. The human watched him. You knew about this. Varen said nothing. You were never afraid of the network. The queen looked at Varen. His expression had changed. For the first time, he looked worried. The human's voice became quiet. You were waiting for her to activate it. Varen smiled again, but this time there was no confidence behind it. The palace shook. Once, then again. Something enormous moved beneath them. The queen whispered, What did my father build? The human looked toward the floor. I don't think he built it. A deep sound echoed from somewhere far below, like something waking after centuries of silence. The human slowly raised his eyes. I think he was hiding it. The lights went out. Then a single ancient voice spoke from beneath the palace. Queen identified. Threat identified. Varen looked toward the floor. And for the first time, he looked afraid. The queen grabbed the human's arm. What is down there? The human stared into the darkness. I don't know. A massive metallic sound answered from below. Something was waking up, and whatever it was, it had recognized Varen. Nobody moved. Then the ancient voice spoke again. Threat confirmed. Varen looked at the human, not the queen, not the walls. The human. His confidence was gone. The queen noticed. You know what that is. Varen said nothing. The human stepped closer. You're afraid. Varen's eyes hardened. I don't fear machines. Then why are you backing away? Varen glanced toward the floor. Another deep mechanical sound rolled beneath them. The entire corridor trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The queen grabbed the human's arm. What is happening? He shook his head. I don't know. Varen suddenly laughed. A short, nervous sound. You really don't understand what your father buried. The queen stepped forward. Then tell me. Varen looked at her. Your father didn't build a weapon. The lights flickered. He built a judge. Silence. The human frowned. A judge? Varen nodded. Something designed to decide who was safe enough to protect the throne. The queen's face tightened. My father would never. He did. Varen pointed toward the floor. And it doesn't recognize titles. Another tremor. It doesn't recognize uniforms. His eyes moved to the human. And it certainly doesn't recognize faces. The human's expression hardened. Project Mirror suddenly made sense. They weren't creating copies simply to replace people. They were trying to fool whatever lived beneath the palace. The queen whispered, Project Mirror. Varen smiled bitterly. They were created because the system became impossible to deceive. The human looked at him. Who created them? Varen didn't answer. Who? Varen's eyes shifted toward the darkness. People who were afraid of what the judge would find. The floor suddenly split. The queen stumbled. The human caught her. A massive section of the corridor dropped away. Below them was darkness. Then, two enormous lights opened beneath the palace. Not eyes. Something much larger. Ancient machinery began rising from beneath the floor. The queen stared. What is that? The human watched it emerge. I think that's the reason your father disappeared. Varen suddenly ran. The Queen looked after him. He's escaping. The human didn't move. No. Varen stopped at the end of the corridor. The ancient voice spoke again. Subject, Varen. Varen froze. Identity verification. His face changed. The human understood. It isn't chasing him. The Queen looked at him. Then what is it doing? Testing him. Varen turned. Don't let it scan me. The Queen stared. Why? Varen's voice cracked. Because if it sees what I really am. The machine beneath them powered up. Memory integrity failed. Varen went pale. A beam of white light swept across the corridor. It passed over him. Nothing happened. For 1 second. Then Varen collapsed to his knees. His face began changing. Not physically. His expression. His voice. His manner. First Varen's voice. Then the Queen's. Then the human's. Then dozens of voices at once. The Queen covered her ears. What is happening? The human stared. It's breaking the copy. Varen looked up. His eyes were filled with terror. Help me. The Queen stepped forward. The human stopped her. Don't. He's asking for help. No. The human never took his eyes off Varen. That's exactly what it wants us to think. Varen suddenly smiled. The human froze. That smile. His smile? The exact smile from the beginning. The Queen saw it too. He copied you again. No. The human's voice became colder. He didn't. Varen slowly stood. His voice became perfectly human. You finally understand? The Queen backed away. What are you? Varen looked directly at the human. Not a copy. The human stared at him. Then what are you? Varen smiled. Something that remembers being one. Silence. The ancient machine suddenly went quiet. Every light beneath the palace turned toward the human. The Queen whispered, Why is it looking at you? The human didn't answer. A message appeared across the ancient wall. Human response pattern unpredictable. Another line appeared. Threat assessment incomplete. The human stared at the words, then slowly smiled. Varen's expression twisted. You. The human looked at him. What? You were never the target. The Queen turned. What does he mean? Varen laughed. They weren't studying him to replace him. The human's smile disappeared. Varen pointed at him. They were studying him because they couldn't predict him. The machine beneath the palace began powering down. The Queen stared. Then why did it recognize Varen as the threat? The human looked at the ancient system. Because it already knew him. And it didn't know me. The Queen looked confused. Then what does it want? The ancient voice answered. Protection protocol. Silence. Primary protected subject Queen. The Queen's eyes widened. Then another line appeared. Secondary protector. Human. The human stared at the wall. The Queen whispered, You. He nodded. But before either could speak, the final message appeared. Primary protector compromised. The human's smile vanished. The Queen looked at him. What does that mean? The ancient voice answered. Human protector, not the original. Silence. The Queen slowly turned toward him. The human didn't move. Varen smiled. And for the first time since the attack began, the Queen wasn't sure which human was standing beside her. She took one slow step backward. The human didn't follow. He simply watched her. Say something. He remained silent. Across the chamber, Varen laughed softly. That's the problem, Your Majesty. The Queen looked at him. What problem? You've spent your entire life believing you could recognize the people closest to you. Varen pointed toward the human. You can't. The Queen turned back to her guard. Are you the original? The human stared at her. I don't know. Her expression changed. You don't know? No. He looked toward the ancient machine. But I know I've protected you. Varen smiled. That's not proof. The Queen's voice became quieter. Then what is? Memory. Varen stepped closer. Ask him something only the real human would remember. The Queen looked at her guard. For several seconds she said nothing. Then, why did you become my guard? The human answered immediately. Because I was assigned. The Queen went still. That isn't what you told me. The human frowned. What did I tell you? You told me you had read my file before accepting the assignment. He nodded. I did, and then you told me something else. The Queen's eyes narrowed. You said you saw something worth protecting. The human stared at her. I don't remember saying that. I know. Varen's smile returned, because he wasn't there. The Queen turned toward him. What are you saying? Varen's expression became serious. Project Mirror doesn't simply copy people. It replaces them. The human stepped forward. Then why do I remember everything? Varen looked at him. You remember enough. The ancient machine suddenly spoke. Correction. Everyone froze. Project Mirror was not designed to create replacements. The Queen looked toward the machine. Then what was it designed to do? The answer came slowly. To test them. The chamber fell silent. Test them for what? The machine didn't answer. Instead, the walls came alive. Hundreds of old recordings appeared around them. The Queen saw her father, her royal guards, her advisors, Varen, and the human. Different years, different moments, different versions. The human stared at the images. Then one recording stopped him cold. It showed the Queen walking beside him, exactly as they had been 12 hours earlier. But the human in the recording was looking directly at a security camera and smiling. The Queen stared at the screen. That was you. The human shook his head. I never saw that camera. The ancient machine answered. You were not supposed to. The Queen looked at it. What does that mean? The screen changed. A laboratory appeared. A human body lay inside a sealed chamber. Machines surrounded it. The face was hidden. There was only one designation. Protector candidate. The Queen whispered. No. The human stepped closer. Play it. A voice came from the recording. His voice. If she is ever threatened, protect her. Another voice answered. What if he fails? The first voice replied. Then we learn why. The recording ended. Silence. The Queen slowly turned toward him. You were created 12 hours ago. The human didn't answer. Varen stepped forward. Now you understand. The human looked at him. You knew. I knew enough. Then why did you bring me here? Varen's expression hardened. I didn't. He looked toward the machine. The judge did. The ancient system spoke. Primary protection protocol. The human's eyes narrowed. Threat response required. Suddenly, Varen raised his weapon. The Queen gasped. The human moved instantly. He stepped between them. The weapon fired. A shield flashed into existence. The shot stopped inches from the Queen. Varen lowered the weapon. You see? The human stared at him. You weren't trying to kill her. No. Varen's voice was almost calm. I was trying to make the judge reject you. The human understood. You wanted me to fail. I wanted the system to decide you weren't real. The Queen looked between them. And if he failed? Varen looked at her. Then Project Mirror would have succeeded. The human stared at the ancient machine. So this was never about killing the Queen. Varen shook his head. It was about finding out what you would become when you believed you were losing her. The chamber went quiet. The human looked at the weapon, then at the Queen, then back at Varen. He slowly lowered his hands. The Queen stared at him. What are you doing? I don't know. Varen smiled. Exactly. The human looked toward the ancient machine. You've been watching me. Correct. You wanted to know whether I'd follow orders. Correct. Whether I'd protect her. Correct. Whether I'd kill someone to do it. Silence. The human's expression changed. Not fear. Recognition. You're not testing whether I'm a perfect protector. The machine remained silent. You're testing whether I'm predictable. Still nothing. The human smiled. And that's your mistake. The Queen looked at him. Why? He didn't look away from the machine. Because if I knew exactly what I would do, you'd already know how to control me. The ancient system went completely silent. Every light in the chamber turned off. For 3 seconds there was nothing. Then, test complete. The Queen froze. Varen's face went pale. What did it say? The ancient voice returned. Human response accepted. The Queen looked at her guard. Accepted? The machine continued. Protector status authentic. Varen stared at the system. No. The human looked up. Authentic? The machine answered. Not original. The Queen's breath caught. Varen whispered, "Then what is he?" The machine illuminated the human. Originality was never the requirement. The Queen stepped closer. Then what was? Choice. Silence. The human looked at the Queen. For the first time since the night began, he didn't look like a weapon. He looked human. The Queen slowly reached for his hand. He let her take it. "So you really don't remember?" He shook his head. "No." "Then who are you?" The human looked at her. "I don't know who I was." He gently tightened his hand around hers. "But I know who I am now." "Who?" He gave her the faintest smile. "Your guard." Behind them, Varen suddenly laughed. The Queen turned. "You failed." Varen looked at the human. "No." His smile faded. "I didn't fail." He looked toward the ancient machine. "I got exactly what I wanted." The human's eyes narrowed. "What?" Varen answered quietly. "I wasn't trying to kill you." A pause. "I was trying to make the judge reveal itself." The chamber fell silent. The human looked toward the machine. "Who designed the judge?" No answer. For the first time, the ancient system hesitated. Every screen in the chamber activated at once. One message appeared. "Creator unknown." The Queen stared. Then another line appeared. "Origin Earth." Her breath caught. Varen's smile disappeared. The human stepped closer to the screen. Earth. The place he was supposed to have come from. The place humanity believed it had discovered only centuries ago. Then a final line appeared. "Date of creation, 412 years ago." Nobody spoke. 412 years? Before first contact. Before the Queen had ever heard the word human. Before humanity believed it had entered the galaxy. The Queen slowly looked at her guard. The human didn't move. Then the ancient machine spoke one final sentence. "Humanity did not discover this world." The human stared into the darkness, and the machine finished. "This world was waiting for humanity.